there, welcome to this episode of Author Success Show. The special guest we have today is Kristyn Koegel, who is the author of the book Two Roads, One Heart. Kristyn is a single mom, writer, speaker, musician, teacher, and trainer. She is a vibrant ball of energetic love, here to serve through all of her heart, spirit, mind, and body. At the young age of 15, she began to struggle with her mental health, which ultimately paved the way to delve into a lifelong search for meaning and purpose. She is on a mission to share her story and the same strategies she learned to help others who are suffering in silence. Hey, Kristyn, welcome to Author Success Show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm honored.
So it's my pleasure, Kristyn. We worked with you, I think, in the year 2022 to help you get your book published. How has
Yes.
the journey been after becoming an author?
Oh, after becoming an author, I think number one, first, it was almost like I had to pinch myself, especially when I had that finished product in my hand.
Mhm.
I was almost in disbelief that it actually happened. It felt pretty surreal. Um, and I was able to, share the book, with others, especially people who I felt were in line with the wording, the words, and the story in the book. And it's interesting because it's a book with insight and just different ideas and topics. And I think I still go to my own book when I need inspiration and motivation, especially when I start to get into that thinking mode.
Mhm.
I pick up my own book and I hold it and I flip to a page, and it normally opens up on something I really needed to see. And
Amazing.
then I get to say to myself, man, I did that. Those are my words in the moment when I was inspired and in the flow. And now that I'm not, it's so exciting to be able to open it up and to see where I was then and what I might be going through at that moment and how to get myself back to that level. So it's been pretty cool, and I really hope that the individuals who have purchased my book can experience the same thing.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you shared this, Kristyn, because a lot of people think that they're writing their book to serve the world. Of course, people who read books get inspired, but I think the person we are going to serve the most is ourselves by writing a book.
Yeah.
Even during the process of writing, it could be quite transformative. And even afterwards, like you mentioned, on days when you don't feel absolutely great, you can always go back to your own book for that dose of inspiration. So, how did it
Right.
all begin? Like, when was the first time you decided that you needed to write a book?
All right. So that's an awesome question, and I get chills just thinking about the process. So in my life, I feel as though I have a bucket list. Everybody should have a bucket list, and work on making those dreams and those goals a reality in some shape or form.
Yeah.
So I forgot actually that I could write. I totally forgot. It's one of my gifts. I've been doing it ever since I was little. I used to write all these stories and share them with my family. I wrote stories for school, and as we grow up, we kind of forget our childlike spirit. And over the last 10 years or so, people kept telling me, "You're such a great writer." And I would
Mhm.
dismiss it. I did a lot of social media marketing and curiosity marketing on Facebook, and just to be able to get people to think bigger.
Mhm.
Um, and so people that I were working with were like, "You're such a good writer." And when I had like individuals who never gave, like, I was like, "You're just saying that to, make me feel better." But then there were individuals who don't give compliments and
Mm.
who would tell me, "You are a good writer." And at that
Mhm.
moment, it came back to me. And I always wanted to write my story because I felt as though the journey in the last decade has been so transformative for me, from coming from a deep, dark place to being able to evolve and come from, instead of being selfish
Mhm.
and sad, I've come to a place of selfless, empowered, and serving. So when I decided I wanted to write a book, I thought it was just going to be about my story.
Yeah.
um, However, at that same time, I had started playing music. I play the keyboard. I'm a piano teacher, and I play the keyboard. And I found myself in a church in the praise team band. Before I was even a member, I had never had any sort of religious or Christian or any sort of upbringing in my whole entire life. We never spoke of the Bible. We had a Bible, I didn't even know. And so I found myself playing music in a praise team band, and I needed to know how to be able to stay in that band and be in alignment with this church, even though I kept getting drawn back to this church. It's non-denominational. The message and the spirit was in that room. And so in order for me to get curious and interested in the Bible, the only way that I could do that was through looking at the Bible as a book. No religion, right? Just as this book with spirited messages.
Right.
So what I would do was I would take the Bible and I would feel love, flip to a page and put my finger down, and I would read the verse, and I would see, what does the gods, the universe, the heavens have for me at that moment? And 9 times out of 10, it would be a message that was so empowering, that made me think, that made me feel better, that made me feel at ease. So then I wanted to take it a step further. To give you the honest truth, I wasn't interested in the stories of the Bible. They felt, to me, they felt like big dramatic soap opera. And I really don't like history. But what did draw me to the Bible was the verses. So I wanted to learn more, the verses. For anybody who's not religious, just being able to change your thought process, think of the verses as inspirational quotes. Just like, in our secular world, we've got inspirational speakers. There was so much alignment with personal growth speakers who are secular, and the words that were coming out of the Bible in verse form or in really spirited pastor form, which is my pastor. And so I decided that I was going to set a goal for myself. I was going to think of a spirited word, faith, love, service, and I was going to Google that word, Bible verse. And then for 14 days, just 2 weeks, every day I was going to find a quote, find a verse from the Bible that spoke to me in however I perceived it, because I did not care about the Bible stories. I cared about that message and how it pertained to my life right now to make me a better person of service. So for 14 days, I would pick a verse and I would write a poem on it. I would write it for 14 days. I found these verses and they lifted me up, and I wrote a spirited poem about it. But I did my own interpretation of what I felt God and the universe meant to me. And so after 14 days, I had a friend, and I call it the accountability count. It was the page a day accountability countdown. So I started on day 14, and I figured this out when I was getting my eyebrows waxed, which it was just a really safe, it's a safe place. It's like your esthetician is your therapist. Your hair person is your therapist, and that's where that inspiration came. So when I went back, that's why I picked 14 days. And when I went back, I said to her, I got 14 amazing poems. What should I write about now? And she's like, well, why don't you write about X, Y, or Z? And I said, you know what? I got more in me. So I did for another Friday. Like, we're doing it for 30 days this time. And I did for 30 days, kept plucking words out of my head, kept plucking Bible verses that spoke to me, and would write a spirited poem. Well, after 180 days and 180 poems later, I realized that they were good. And I didn't want to toot my own horn, but they were just raw and real, and they were special. And I started reading them to people. And the first response from people, however, so I would ask people, I would say, think of a really great word that makes you feel warm and fuzzy. They would tell me. And normally that word would be a word that I had put Bible verse after and I had a poem for. So I would find that poem and I would read it to them. And 9 out of 10 times that individual would cry.
Wow.
Or their eyes would get big, their heart would soften, and it would affect them in such a great way. I was like, oh man, I need to get this out there. So
until that point, you did not have the plan to compile them in the form of a book.
No, I wanted to write a book about me. I wanted to write all about me because I did think that my story had a purpose to let people know if they're in a deep, dark place, they can come out of it. I never thought that I was going to start with a book about poems. And the way that I had really started like fueling the fire was when I was getting my eyebrows done. I saw a book and I asked Tyler, I said, whose book is this? And she said, oh, it's my friend. She published a book. I said, your friend published a book? What? I didn't know about self-publishing or even how to start that. So
Mhm.
I looked, the cover was very plain. I opened it up. And to me, I was like, well, if she did it, I could do it and I could do it better. I could do it
Right.
better. And that was what really gave me the idea to start going on that journey. And so I found you guys through Susan Vernicek. I was working with her,
Yes.
Mindset and Achieve. And so she helped me get in contact with you guys
She was your
to
business coach, right?
She's my business coach. Yes, Mindset
Yeah.
and Achieve for mom entrepreneurs, busy mom entrepreneurs, and how to balance your life and your family with your business and take it to the
Mhm.
next level. And man, she sure did do that for me. She asked me hard questions, held a mirror up to my face. I worked with her for over a year,
Mm.
and through the process of the book as well.
Right.
So
So
the
did you
book.
tell her that your goal is to now write a book? And that's when she introduced us, I think.
Oh, thank you for telling me that. I was on a meeting with her, and through a company of women, and big bit believe, inspire, and grow is like a this whole collective collaborative of women, which is amazing. And so when I was on there, I met her energy and her spirit, because I really go with those feelings. And she wrote a book, and I wanted to write a book. And so I signed up with her. I was like, help me write a book, show me how to, that's all I wanted to do. I
Mm.
needed that first step. And then it turned out that, and not only did I need her to help me find how to write a book, but I needed her to help me work on myself. Yeah. So um, the book wound up being when I signed up with you all, and
Mhm.
I'll never forget when I wrote a quick 6,000 word entry bio on me, and then I slapped all the poems in there. I'm like, this is great. This is awesome. This is almost done. It wasn't almost done, because you guys as a company, now my editor turned into my therapist, because she had so many questions, and questions about my own story. There were
Mm.
so many questions and gaps in my own story. And at that moment, I realized this book is a lot deeper. This book is going to have a lot more layers. It's not only going to be these poems, but it's going to be my story parallel with these poems. It's going to be Bible verses parallel with
Mm.
personal growth quotes. And there's
Mm.
going to be sections, and then there's going to be a section for individuals to reflect on their own story.
Yeah.
And I came up with it when I took a sabbatical, and I went to the beach all by myself, and I really, got in alignment with who I was and in the flow. And that's when the whole idea and the premise of the book came about.
Yeah, I'm so glad, Kristen, that you are a person who's very open-minded and you're open to feedback. Otherwise, I think the quality of the book would not have been so great as it is now. And initially, I remember the conversations we had. Should it be a book full of poems? I have all these amazing quotes, and I also have an inspiring story. Should I do 3 books? So then we discussed and we realized that they were all so interconnected that they had the potential to be combined into one amazing book.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm happy you brought that up, because I think the worst thing that we can say as an individual is, I know, because we don't, there's so much that we don't even know that we know. And always being open, always being curious. The ABCs: always be curious,
Mm.
always be open to criticism, constructive criticism, because it helps you learn and it helps you grow. And when your heart is open, you can feel if it comes from a place of love
Right.
and growth, or if it just comes from a place of somebody having a hard heart. You can tell the difference
Yeah.
over time. And so, because you follow the individuals who've been there and done that, so you guys, you've done this before. So I know that I can trust you and trust your process. I'm
Mm.
not going to go to somebody who's maybe wanted to write a book, hasn't really done it, isn't that organized. I'm not going to go to them to help me write a book. I'm going to go to the professionals, the people who've been there and done that. And I'm going to be as coachable as possible, because they're going to set me up for success like you guys did.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Before getting into the process of actually writing a book, I just
Sure.
wanted to ask this question about the topic of the book itself. See, a lot of
Sure.
people who are like you, who are women in business, first want to write a book about their field of work. They want to,
Right.
in your case, you are a fitness trainer for women. So
Yeah.
they would probably write a book on, I don't know, how do you get your dream body, or what are the mistakes you make when it comes to your
Mhm.
fitness journey or something. And you could have easily done that because
Mhm.
you've been in that field for so many years. But instead, you chose to share your personal story
Mm.
and inspire people through that. So,
Mm.
did that thought of writing a book based on your profession ever cross your mind, or you always wanted to just share your story?
No, it did not. Because if you Google fitness, you're going
Mhm.
to get a whole bunch of fitness. And it's deeper than that because a lot
Mhm.
of people go out there looking for fitness. It's top layer. It's
Yeah.
surface level. People don't even know why they're working out. They don't have that deeper goal. It had to be deep. And it had to be like, I'm not very good at small talk. I like the deep conversations. I like the deeper questions that make you
Mhm.
think. I like to talk about the things that possibly are things that you haven't talked about for a long time. And it's funny because when I train individuals, I also, I always relate life to training. Training's not easy, training's not hard. And what we do is we rip apart our muscles. I always say to people, when I'm training you, we are not building muscle. This is the time in the day, the 45 minutes in the day where we are ripping your muscles apart, and the other 23 hours is up to you to feed them and to nourish them and to recover them. That is up to you. So, in that ripping apart is where the journey begins. And
Mhm.
then you have the object to feed it and fulfill it so it can grow stronger.
Right.
And I believe not only is that with your muscles, but it's with your mind, and it starts here. It doesn't start here, it starts here. This is the byproduct of it. That happens, that is the byproduct. But if you just look at, I want big muscles. Why? It's just an aesthetic. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That will happen, but that doesn't matter. And I really like to get to the heart of the
Mhm.
issue, because that's what's lasting.
Mm. I like the thought of, going deeper and not just talk about the surface level things, because the deeper thought process is what actually differentiates you from anybody else's book, because your story is yours and that is so unique to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always feel like I can share it or I want to share it. And it's important to me because my journey, I remember when I was younger and I played on a I was not into sports when I was younger. I was terrible. I still am bad with like organized sports. I'm
Mm.
not that good. I like to work out though, obviously. But I remember I joined a community softball league. And the first day when I held that bat, I was holding that bat. And when I swung, I let go with one hand and I had the other and I spun in a circle. Of course, I missed. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this girl's on our team. But I never did it before. And by the end of the season, I got the trophy for the most improved player. It
Mhm.
was just so great to see that journey within myself. So I say that because if I can do this, if I can do the things that I've done, that I've accomplished, anybody can take it to the next level and do a 180. Because you know what? We all have spiritual gifts. My
Mm.
spiritual gift is not being neat. I am a slob. I'm very sloppy, and I will work on that. But I also kind of embrace it. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm a
Right.
little sloppy because that's not like I. So I have a house cleaner come in and clean my house once a month or every other month, because my brain and my gift is in other things. It's in
Mhm.
writing, it's in inspiring, it's in playing music, and I'm a piano teacher as well. So it's
Mhm.
in teaching my kiddos, and playing in the praise team. I've got a lot of gifts, and one of them I'm going to contract the other ones out so I can save
Wow.
that brain space and I can save that energy for the things of my service.
Yeah.
And that's, and then that comes to just being able to have an abundance mindset,
Mm.
knowing, like, I mean, it was so crazy when you can put things out there in your mind, when you can dream dream and visualize and be able to not only dream, but feel as though that has already happened for you. It sounds woo woo, but I'll tell you, woo woo, it works.
Yeah, as long as it
It
works,
works.
why not? Yeah.
It works, like this book. I remember it being a visualization, it really was. It started with an idea, started with a thought, and I just acted on that thought and that idea. I thought this can be possible for me.
So, Kristen, I love the message that you gave about focusing on your gifts and outsourcing the other things so that you clear up your mind space. So, for you, researching on the verses in the Bible and writing poems, these came naturally to you. You had this data bank already with you when you came to us. Um, but then you were so open in working with our book coach in creating that beautiful structure for all your chapters and doing the writing, right? So, how was that process? I first of all love the acronym HEART in your book, and each of the letters actually expand into different sections of the book. So, did you have that clarity in the beginning, or did you guys figure it out along the way?
Um, no, that was after I realized that the structure of the book. It was after I had sent all the poems, and
Mm.
then with the bio, and then I got all those questions, and I thought, how am I going to put this together? And that clarity of putting that together happened when I went to the beach. I went to the beach, and uh, when I went to the beach, I wrote one of my most favorite poems, and it actually came to me on my drive home. I was listening to Levi Lesko on the radio. He's a preacher, and I don't remember. He's like new school, and like he's freaking awesome, and he's funny, and
Mm.
he's like, oh, I really like him. Um, and all of us, I'm sitting in the car, and I still hadn't come up like had a great weekend, but I hadn't come up with like a premise. And at that point, I might have had a title. I can't even remember if I had the title or not. But I kept saying the word over in my head, heart. No, art, art, A-R-T. I kept saying art, art, art. And I kept saying ask, receive, transform. Like ask, art, art, art. Ask, receive, testify, testify. Oh, that's good. Ask, receive, art. And all of a sudden I'm driving. I'm like, wait, heart. So then I'm like, okay, what's the H and what's the E in my head? Heal, experience,
Mm.
ask, receive, and testify.
Right.
Like, ah, yes, yes. And then at that moment, I knew that my story fell in all of those parts. So it's the parts of the heart. I
Mm.
knew my story fell in all those hearts. And then I just had to figure out how to compartmentalize it to get what goes under H, what goes under E, like how it all works, how to get my story and the poems together. So
Right.
now I kind of just had to put it into. I had to arrange it, and at this point, I was still stubborn. No, I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I'm a writer. And it took me a while for me to work with you guys on actually digging deeper. It was, I think, a 5-week course on
Yeah.
getting that book together. I was sitting at my table. I was sitting at my kitchen table, and I was like, God, tell me what to do. And pretty much, if he was sitting next to me, he'd be like, "Dum dum, sign up for the course. Do it. What are you waiting for?" No, pretty much the words that came into my head was ask for help.
Mm.
And so I did. And in those 5 weeks, the first question she had for me was, "Do you read books?"
Mhm.
I was like, I can't remember the last time I read a book. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even read books. I listen to books. I've listened. She gave me a list of books to get these and read them, please.
Mhm.
And I got some great books. There's some great books. Can't remember off the top of my head. They're on my bookshelf. And then my mom was in a book club, so I joined my mom's book club. So not
Mhm.
only was I reading books now, I joined a book club so I can be on the other side.
Right.
Hello, you need to know what I mean, my book's not fiction, and I've listened to a lot of nonfiction. So I was using a couple nonfiction books to inspire me, to help
Mhm.
me to put together my book, and also looking at the format and stuff of the book. But so then we started working together, and then ideas just popped out of it. And that it was a 4 or 5 week course. We met for like 30, 45 minutes, an hour. And that was all it took. That was all it took. And it came together smashingly. But it came together so well
Mm.
that I had too many words in the book. And I had to now cut back like 6,000 words to get to the max level. And at that point is when I had to go in and start just taking out words of the poems and kind of consolidating it. But before that, I never touched the poems. So it was
Mm.
just very small consolidations, just those, or oh, that's a redundant, word. But I, cause I didn't, I wanted to leave the poems as, as natural as
As
possible,
raw
like
as, yeah.
as raw as possible. Exactly.
Mm.
So yeah, so heal, experience, ask, receive, and testify. Along with that,
Mm.
so from in the book I have is called Two Roads, One Heart. Look at that beautiful cover. Two Roads, One Heart. And the two roads in your, it's kind of these two roads in your life where you have choices.
Mm.
There's two ways to look at it. Which road are you going to go down? Leading your heart, your heart is leading you down.
Yeah.
If you go down the wrong road, you're going to learn, you should learn from it. It's an experience. If you go down the right road, it's an experience. Another way that I look at the two roads, one heart, is one road is your secular journey and one road is your spiritual journey, and
Mhm.
how to be able to bring them both together to have a wholehearted experience. And I think that's important because a lot of the times, if you're looking from a religious standpoint or from churches and all the different denominations, when we're there Sunday morning, it's that hour that you're there in that little bubble. And then
Mm.
the rest of the time you go out into the real world and you're back down here. Or you may go to church and just kind of go through the motions as like
Mm.
sitting in the same place, going to the bathroom at the same time during the service, you
Mm.
know, um, and I think those rituals just need to be broken so you can feel. We just
Mm.
need that. We need our hearts to beat more when we're
Yeah.
in
Be
those places. So
consciously more aligned. Yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
So the book, in the parts of the heart, you have a secular motivational quote that's touched me throughout my life, and then my story, and then you'll have a Bible verse, and then the message with that Bible verse in my poem. So,
Mm.
for instance, let me just turn to a page real quick with a poem. Here we go. I got it. All right. So for instance, I have a Bible verse on one side here,
Mm.
and then here is going to be the poem, which happens to be Closet Jesus, but then it says a message on prayer.
Mm.
So when you go to the back, you can find all of the poems. I have all the poems in the appendix right
Yeah.
here. And what that does is it tells you all of the poems and the message that goes along with it. So,
Mm.
for instance, a message on vulnerability, grief, message on spiritual nourishment,
Mhm.
trust, strength, disruption, and it goes on and on. So I mean, it's such a fun little book. So you've got that, right? You've got that whole secular personal growth, my story, spiritual
Yeah.
Bible verse, and then the poem, and then at the end of each part of the heart
There is a
is the
journal prompt as well.
yep.
Yeah.
Journal it out. And I like acronyms. Out is what is your obstacle under transformation?
Mm.
How does this apply to your life? And it gives you room to scribble and write.
Yeah.
My hope is that people mess this book up with their scribbling and their
Mhm.
writing and their note taking.
Yeah.
Um, because I want them to use it just like it's like great energy. I mean, the cover is so smooth, feels so smooth. It's such a beautiful picture. Everyone just loves this. I love this cover, right? It's just it's a blessing. It's a blessing because I stepped outside of my comfort zone.
Mm.
The experience was. I mean, I literally was so stuck. I was so stuck. I think I was just ghosting you guys for a couple months. I was like, I can't. I don't know what I'm doing.
But you came back on track, and I think at the end it came out so well. So,
It
what
did come.
for you, Kristen? What was the toughest part in the whole journey? And what was the most enjoyable part?
Okay. The toughest part in this whole journey for me was the cover.
Mm-hmm.
It was the cover. I couldn't figure out what the cover and also the layout and like the wording, like the I mean, it's actually kind of silly. When I come to think about it now, I'm like, what in the world? Um, like, why did it? Whatever. And also the layout, the how I was going to lay it out. That was stressful for me. That was real stressful, and how that layout was going to look, how it was going to work. And the reason is being for the layout of the book is because I am not technologically savvy, and there was a lot of things that I had questions about. Like, I don't know how to use this.
Mm.
Also, the editing process at the beginning with the technology, I just didn't understand how it was working, how we were communicating back and forth. So the technological, because I love to write,
Okay.
and that was really, really hard on me. But it grew me, and I learned. I learned. So I was like, oh, I'm up leveling here.
Nice.
Um, and the cover, it was because I was in my own head. I was looking at covers that were only speaking to me, but not others.
Mm.
And I know that like I had a bunch of versions, and you guys drew up so many versions. I'm like, no, no,
Mm.
no, no, no. We did so many that I had to like go back in and like get more. I was like, I need more options. You're like, oh, okay. Oh, you don't have any more options. I'm like, oh, we'll figure out a way. I was like, whatever I got to do, I need more options. And so one day I was lying in bed. I'm like, what do I visual? Taking my own advice. What makes me warm and fuzzy? What do I visualize? And I was half asleep, and I saw this vision right here. I
Mhm.
saw this. I saw the road. I saw the field. I saw the sunset, and I saw the heart tree.
Mm.
And I remember I was half asleep, and I had my phone, and I'm like, this is what I see. What can you do for me?
Right.
And you sent it to me, and I looked at it, and I'm like, I don't know. And so I messaged Susan. I was like, what do I do? I don't know. She said, it's beautiful. It's perfect. And
Mhm.
she said, go ask others.
Right.
Go show others and see what their reaction is. Say,
Mhm.
do you like this one? Do you like this one? The one that I really liked,
Nobody
it
else
was
liked.
this one. Nobody else liked. I liked it. Nobody else liked. You know why? Because the other one was like this hard, and it was artistic and drawings all over the place, and
Mm.
kind of reminding me of my hair in my mind, all over the place. But
Yeah.
when I showed this to people, you can see it. It's not about the words. It's about, you can see it. See their eyes soften, like their heart open, and they're like, that one,
Mm.
that one. This is the
Usually,
one.
the one that is simple is the one that connects with people's hearts because they can understand it.
Hmm. Yep.
Mm.
And also another thing was, because I was Googling heart trees, I had looked at so many heart trees that it started to feel like nobody wants to see a heart tree. It's so overdone. And Susan said, what are you talking about? It's not overdone. You've just been looking at them, like thousands of them.
Yeah.
So it's overdone to you,
Mm.
to others.
Right.
Oh, so you're just saying I have to get out of my head.
And Kristen, this is not something that only you felt or you faced because most authors are so close to their book for those 6 months or a year that they tend to get overwhelmed because they are so close to their book project. Sometimes we just need to step back and distance ourselves and ask others. And that's when
Mhm.
the clarity comes in. So I'm glad you shared about this one. What was the
Yes.
most fun part for you?
Let's see. The most fun part, uh, it was like right towards the end. Well, first of all, writing all the poems was super fun. I love that.
Right.
But it was right towards the end when I had to edit all of the poems. I had to edit all of the poems and like really like take out all the words. Like, it was fun for me because at this point I had too many words, and I had to take stuff out. So it's like when you kind of like when you clean, or it was like a spring cleaning. Like,
Mhm.
I got to reread those poems and like take stuff out and try to hit the words. And another fun part was coming up with the journal prompts. It
Mm.
was super fun. It was super fun. They're little activities. I think, and then the last journal prompt is actually the very last one is not obstacle under transformation, but is what are your other useful tools? Because at the end, it's like, what's going to be your takeaway? How are you gonna? How am I going to end this book? What am I? You're going to take away? So it's not an obstacle under transformation anymore, because hopefully at this point you've learned so much.
Yeah.
Now there are other useful tools for you to utilize, and so there's a whole section of filling that out. And I remember the day that I had to come when I wrote the testify part, because that was like the other useful tools. I was like, it can't be obstacle under transformation. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be real with you. At that point, this book was almost done. And I poured myself a glass of wine and I sat on my back porch and I just took in the sunshine and I was like, all right, let's see. How do we end this book? How do I end this with activity for
Mm.
someone else? And that's when other useful tools came into my mind, and the activities, the activities for people to do came in my mind. And I was so excited. I was like, go.
Nice.
And so that was super fun, because this is stuff that not only do I get to practice, but they're action items for other people to practice,
Mm-hmm.
to take the words from this book, to take what is applicable to you and bring it to life.
Mm.
That's the whole purpose. It's to bring things to life. It's not always about the chatter, but it's about the
Yeah.
doing and the action, and facing that if you mess up, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's totally fine. It's your learning and your growing experience. So,
So true. Yeah. So, Kristen, for most authors, when I talk to them after the book gets published, uh, their author journey doesn't end
mm,
at that moment. It actually starts.
mm,
So, you've published the book more than a year ago, and I see a lot of your updates on social media with people holding copies of your book. And I recently was so happy to see the All Heart Women's Conference, and
yeah.
it had the same beautiful heart tree as well. So, is that like an extension of your book? And what is it all about? I would love to know.
Yes. So, All Heart Women's Conference came. It was the gift of the conference was given to me right at the end of the book, the push. It was around May or June, and needed to get this book out in like 3 months. I had like 3 months left, and I literally was still trying to tie those loose ends up. And this is when a woman, it was at Vacation Bible School, and one of the ladies at church was walking around with a clipboard. I'm like, what is she doing? I was like, Mickey, what are you up to now? What are you up to, girl?
Mhm.
And she said, I want to hold a conference here, and it's going to be about women coming together. And I wanted to know if you can do the music, because I'm in the praise team. And I was like, oh yeah, I can do the music for you, but I can also, I wrote a book. Maybe I can talk. She's like, oh, you wrote a book? I was like, yeah, let me show you the cover. So I showed her the cover, and she furrows her brow and she's looking at it. I'm like, okay, maybe I don't have to talk. Like, I didn't know, I couldn't understand her reaction. And
Mhm.
she looked at it, and then she looked up at me and she goes, can your book be the theme of our conference?
Wow.
What? Now, at this point, the book wasn't done. It wasn't done. I'm like, sure, yes, it can be. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta write this book and finish it and get it out. So not only did I have to finish writing a book, but I had a conference to put together.
Mm.
There were over 80 women there, and I had to figure out how to do this. I thought I was technologically like not there. I had to teach Mickey how to copy and paste on her phone. So her friend is a professional speaker and had an outline of how the conference needed to run. Mickey had 5 speakers. She had 5 singers. She wanted the praise team. She wanted breakfast. She wanted lunch. She wanted slides. She wanted music. I had a lot of work ahead of me. So not only did I have to finish this book, but now I had to put together a conference.
Right.
And it was such a challenge, but it was what God was saying, holding me accountable. Like, here
Mhm.
you go. You get what you asked for, and on big scales, because I know you can do this.
Right.
So I was able to get this together. I learned how to do slides. I literally, I had to learn how to facilitate
Mhm.
minute by minute, how
Mhm.
to put it together. But you know what? we just put together a book. We just had put together the outline of this book. I still had to finish it. So I knew how to put things together. I knew how to break things down, and I already got the outline. So, like, me and Sunny worked together, and we got the outline of the book. Now I just had to, she helped me do that. I was given a skeleton outline of how to run a conference. All I had to do was plug and play.
Right.
I was so, but the funny thing is I didn't realize that because I was still in my own head until I sat down again. I'm like, God, help me do this conference. He's like, oh, and it pretty much was like an aha moment. Wait a second, I have the conference. It's just a skeleton. It's just a skeleton. I have to fill in the information. I was given the layout.
The
I was
template was
given.
there. Yeah.
I was given it. I just had to fill it in. So that's how I was able to. I gave every single woman a letter. So the way that it worked was we had one, two, three, four. We had 5 women, and each woman got to speak on the parts of the heart: heal, experience, ask, receive, transform. And I said, I don't want. All I'm going to say is, you speak about heal. You speak about pick a letter.
Mm.
I get receive. You guys pick what you want. They did, and so then we plugged in the singers where it was applicable. Praise team played before, and then
Right.
there's a wonderful woman pastor who played at the end with slides, and it was like a 7-8 hour event. And I did the music too. Like I had a theme song that played throughout the whole thing, and it went out off without a hitch. We were actually like 3 minutes under. It was so cool. It was so
Amazing.
much fun. It was so. Oh, and that was my book release. I got the book
Huh.
done, and that was the book release. Yep.
Wow. So all the attendees got the opportunity to check out your book. Isn't that
Yep.
cool?
Yep. Yeah, I was
Wow.
able to get their names. Actually, no, I apologize. The book release wasn't until like a couple weeks, 2 weeks later or so. But I
Mhm.
had the list. I
You
was
made the
able to
announcement that it's coming up.
make the announcement. It's coming, right? And then the book release was virtual online. Like I did, like every hour of that day. I was like, I think I got number 2 on Amazon Kindle or Amazon something, and I got
Mhm.
in like the top 20 maybe on Amazon. But that honestly, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
That if this book can touch one person,
Right.
um, so that was so cool to be able to do that. We also videotaped it. We have CDs of the whole
Wow.
entire conference. We have
Right.
CDs um,
So
of it.
lovely to see, how the book has opened so many amazing opportunities, which you
Yeah.
probably would not have thought of when you started writing it in the first place.
I was just going to say that above and beyond that, I had intimate workshops with my mom's part of a newcomers club. Generally like older women, retired women. So I had a conference on that, and people bought the book there and had testimonials about that. I
Wow.
also had a workshop at like a healing place where they have like rocks and oils and all that. I had a
Mhm.
conference there, and I turned it into a really gave people like journals, and I really made it into a workshop breaking down the parts of the heart. So I've had workshops regarding the book and
Mhm.
conference, and so yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Fantastic. I think
Mhm.
all of us have a message that we want to share with the world. But the moment you decide to put it in the form of a book, you're just announcing to the universe that you're ready now to share your message on a bigger platform. And then all these opportunities keep showing up because now you are ready.
Yeah, for sure. It keeps you are giving yourself the opportunity to move the needle forward, and
Mm,
when you can open up new doors, there's there's new opportunities, and being able to release what doesn't serve you, being
mm,
able to release it, because when we can release the things that don't serve us, we're making room for the things that do serve us. And
yeah.
another thing is um, the law of abundance, knowing that there's so many opportunities, so many people, so many lives that you can touch with your own gift. And the tagline of the book is a spirit-led journey to unlock your heart's true potential and discover your unique purpose,
Mm,
your unique spiritual gift. And it's different for everybody. You don't have
yeah.
to be good at everything, and you shouldn't be good at everything,
Mm,
but you were given a unique gift. You were given a purpose, and your job is just to unlock and uncover
mm,
and bring back that childlike spirit, because kids ask so many questions and they're always curious.
yeah.
They have no filter. They're taking everything in like a sponge. And if we can keep our minds young and open and curious, we can find those answers, receive those gifts, and then share them with the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristin, for that beautiful message. Where can our listeners and viewers go check out more about you?
Yeah, so they can I'm pretty much I'm on Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/Kristyn Koegel, KristynKoegel.
We'll
It
have the link
normally
in the show notes.
Oh, okay, cool. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Kristyn Koegel. Otherwise, you message me, I will message you right back, and
Perfect.
that's that's how you get in contact with me.
And we will
So,
also put up the link to your book so they
oh,
can go buy it for
Amazon.
sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, you can get a link to the Amazon. But I want the more the merrier. I love people. I love hearing people's stories. I mean, at one point I did a podcast called "What's Your Story?"
Mhm.
Muscle, money, mindset. It's really important. Everyone has a story. Make yours a great one, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has a story, and everyone has a message to deliver. It's our jobs just to unlock that, uncover it, be proud of it, and serve it.
Sure. Thank you so much, Kristin, for
You're
being on
welcome.
Author Success Show.
Thank you.